Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined by Jack Weinberger and Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia. A very exciting, wild, big upset. Week 5 of the NFL season. Of course, it starts with let's clap it up, another Minnesota Vikings win, right? 5-0 on the season now. The miracle run continues. And when they were up 17-0, Ziggy, I was watching the game with my cousin Alan, who's here, my dad, my brother. We're all watching the game together, and my dad looks at me and just goes, this is a fantasy. This is a dreamland right here. What is happening? And it's really crazy with the Vikings how quickly dreams can become nightmares. And all of a sudden, your heart's kind of pounding. Aaron Rodgers is going on a game-winning drive. We've seen this before with him against the Vikings. And somehow, some way, we get Stephon Gilmore interception to walk away with the 23-17 win. Jack, you were probably up, what? You've been up for like 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, yeah. I was up at like 7 o'clock. I was placing my bets. I was
Eggs,
getting ready.
Bacon, right?
Oh, yeah.
Probably mowed the grass, something like that.
Come kickoff, I'd been up for probably 5 hours already.
Yeah. No, you are a morning early bird.
I watched the whole thing start to finish. Didn't miss a second.
That's good.
I was up. I was alert. I wasn't hungover.
It's classic Jack. Jack on a Sunday morning.
Yep.
I was thrilled with the first half of the game, the first quarter of the game. And as it went on, the Vikings they're human guys. We know that most people watching this think that they're just a machine who
they're a machine.
Can beat everybody at will, but they're human. And the Jets, I don't want to say the Jets really started playing well. The defense certainly played well. But Aaron Rodgers had a couple drives where it looked like, okay, that's the vision of what the Jets should be. But throughout the game, really, I thought the Jets, Jack, you jokes aside, Jack did see the game. Like, when you watch Aaron Rodgers in this one, I just feel like, obviously he was hurt. He got hurt earlier in the game. But that Jets offense just feels like they're missing something. And I can't help thinking Devontae Adams is the missing piece. Is that too crazy?
I'll tell you what's going on with this Jets team.
I probably agree with you.
This Jets team thought they just fell out of a coconut tree. They forgot that they exist in the context of all that came before them. What comes before them, I was talking to my dad about this today, big Jets fan. They are the New York Jets. It does not matter if they go and get Devontae Adams. It does not matter if they go and get Aaron Rodgers. They can go get Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and TJ Watt right now. This Jets team is going nowhere because they're the Jets. They're the only genuinely cursed franchise in American sports. I don't know what to do with it.
I totally agree. Like, it's a black cloud franchise, but you also have an artifact playing quarterback. Like, I'm out on him.
He looked rough.
What do you have? 3 picks today?
He looked, and he got hurt again.
Didn't score last week at all against Denver. Didn't get in the end zone.
Hey, how about your Broncos, by the way?
I told you they're
right after Jack puts them in 9. Everyone's making fun of them.
The Broncos
win.
They're amazing. The Broncos.
Come on, guys.
And like once Bo Nix heats up, they're a top 5 team in the NFL. But I'll get off the Broncos.
I will say I don't want to put it all on Aaron Rodgers. There was no running game whatsoever. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen couldn't get it done. I was worried going into this game because the Jets' offensive line has done a terrible job defending blitzes. That surely did not get any better this game. Like Aaron Rodgers, I'm not saying he had a great game, but given the circumstances he was in, he was not problem 1, 2, or 3 on this offense. And still, if Mike Williams just turns around and goes for that 50-50 ball, there's a chance the Jets win this game.
There's No, it was close. Lazard had a few critical drops, and then they were tough catches, but still, Rodgers, you could see the almost exasperation on his face, like, I'm putting it right where it needs to be, and these guys aren't coming down with it. And the Jets did have a couple big injuries on defense, but I don't know, Zig. Yeah, I do think that there were a few situations where I thought to myself, man, that looked like Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, like the routes that they had down pat. If you could go get him, I don't know what it's going to cost you. I think they desperately need something because the more you watch them right now, the more apparent it seems that they're missing something. They need more.
You know what I took away from today? You guys, you go first. You go first.
I was going to say they host Buffalo and then they go to Pittsburgh. If things don't start looking differently, this Jets team is going to start 2-5. And Aaron Rodgers is not there. Yeah. This could very well be his last year in football. They can't start 2-5. So when you talk about like a desperation trade for Devontae Adams, yeah, it's absolutely desperate.
It is.
At this point, they're a desperate team.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. They need more.
I feel like for the most part, they played as bad as they could have played. Like down 17-0 right off the bat. And I like my chances at the end of the game when Aaron Rodgers has the ball, the chance to go win it. I thought they were going to.
It felt like
it. Felt like it had that feel like they were going to march down and win the game. What I took away from today, this might sound crazy. Minnesota One of the better teams in football. We know that.
Sure, thank you.
You have your flowers. You deserve your flowers. Justin Jefferson's fantastic, but Garrett Wilson is better.
Shut up, Jack. What? Why? What?
I thought Wilson was great today. What do you have? 14 catches, like 100-something yards?
Yeah, Jefferson had 6 for 92, and Jefferson had 5 penalties drawn in crucial situations over and over again.
I was impressed.
If you had penalty yards, Justin Jefferson had 200 yards in this.
I was impressed by Wilson today, though.
All right. I have no time. No time for nonsense like that.
I don't know, my man.
Garrett Wilson was fine. Yeah, he had 13 catches for 101 yards. And Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 54 times.
And a touchdown. He got in the end zone, right?
Yeah, he got in the end zone. I'm not even addressing it. As far as the Vikings go, I can't. As far as the Vikings go,
I'm right.
Ziggy and I were talking about the different Vikings teams that started 5-0 in 2016 and 6-0 in 2004. How those teams missed the playoffs completely, or 2003, I think. Bless you. 2003, I believe. And we had in that 2016 season, we had a Week 6 bye. So there's sort of similarities between those years, and it's easy to see things possibly falling apart when you really look at this Vikings team. And during the third quarter, it was ugly on offense. So Sam Darnold couldn't get things going. They lost Aaron Jones, and TJ Hawkinson will be coming back, so there were missing pieces. But it's easy to see the areas where it could fall apart for the Vikings. But the one thing that I really think, and it shocked me all year, the defense is as legit as they come. I mean, they fly around the entire game. The only times I've doubted them this year are when they're gassed because the offense is floundering. I think that Brian Flores has a top 5 unit in the league right now, and as long as we can avoid injuries, which you never know in the NFL, I feel really confident that defense will keep them afloat, even when the offense inevitably kind of slows down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold, the offense was not. They weren't all that great today. But what did you force? 3 turnovers?
Yeah, up until that big drive at the end where Darnold got the field goal when he had to. They were just.
I was going to say that's another impressive late drive by Sam the
He's
Man.
done that like 2 or 3 times.
2017, Jets just get in the end zone. Was there 5 minutes left?
Yep.
Darnold finds JJ for 20 yards.
The best receiver in football.
The second best receiver in football. Finds that tight end the next play.
How about Van Ginkel, too? They're showing highlights right now. What a lunatic. Just amazing. Amazing player. That could be the next jersey. All right, Ziggy. Before we move on here, you confident going forward? Like, how you feel going into the bye? You literally can't be better.
I think this is a perfect time for the Vikings to have a bye because they've had a lot of momentum. Things have gone well for them, but I think this game exposed, as much as we're complaining about the Jets offense, Jack is right. The Vikings offense was only marginally better. It was the defensive touchdown that really made the difference this game. So reset, let some of that noise, some of that hype settle down, continue to work on making the offense more consistent, let the defense continue to do its thing. I think now is a great time for the Vikings to take a breather, step back, reset expectations. And we'll be coming out of that bye with a critical game, right? We're hosting the Lions.
Do you know that, Jack?
We need to be ready for that game.
Week 7.
In
hosting
Minnesota?
Detroit and Minnesota with a chance to have a 2.5 game lead on the division with a win.
That's the game you lose.
That's the thing. I keep saying that I was telling my uncle before, we're like every single week, us Vikings fans are saying, oh, if we beat the Texans next week, oh, if we beat the Packers in Lambeau next week, then we're legit. And now, we're 5-0 going into the bye, and we're all saying, all right, if we beat Detroit at home, then we're legit. We're legit. All right, we're legit.
I'm not saying the team's not legit.
Yeah, I'm saying for all the Vikings
game
fans
is
who
the
are
game
doubting.
we need to. If the Vikings win that game, they're going to the playoffs. Period.
Yes, I agree with you.
I had the Vikings
this is where
starting
you get
5-0.
your heart broken. When you believe, you get your heart broken. So
Where was that episode I had Minnesota 5-0?
the Viking season prediction episode.
I got to go back and watch that.
Just crystal clear.
I think I've said word for word what'll happen.
Yeah, somehow you're always right.
Jets revenge, Niners revenge.
Okay. The Ravens-Bengals was an unbelievable game. Did you guys watch that one through?
I saw that one. Two crappy teams.
It's hard during the 1 o'clock slate to pay attention. People make fun of us. They're like, all right, you guys are quote unquote working. And it's all right, you try and sit down and watch 7 games at one time and digest everything that's happening and then go and talk about it when you're kind of piecing together different storylines. It is a pretty good life. But the Ravens 41-38 over the Bengals. What a crushing loss for Cincinnati. A lot of people with Bengals futures bets were thinking this was the spot that you get Baltimore. You're back in it. No one really believes in Jack's Steelers right now. And Evan McPherson, you see Jack in my notes? See my notes?
Yes.
McPherson misses 52-yarder.
It's not his
It was
fault.
windy. It was windy. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the hold was dropped.
The hold was horrendous.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close when you watched it live. And right after that, Derrick Henry rips off like a 50-yard run. Justin Tucker, boom, down the middle. Ravens go to 3-2. Bengals are 1-4. And Ziggy, during that game, people made fun of you for putting the Bengals at 4 in the power rankings without a win a few weeks ago, as they should. It was a horrendous ranking. But I could see where you were coming from during that game when the Bengals put up 38 points and Joe Burrow was 30 for 39 for 392 yards and 5 touchdowns.
This was the best game of Burrow's career by a mile.
Well, maybe
No,
right?
it was
Like
one
he-
of his best
like he-
performances.
Yeah, he was flat out amazing.
No, I mean, he was dropping in passes. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch the highlights from this one. Lamar and Burrow were just back and forth. This was easy top 4 quarterback play in the league by both these guys. And it made you realize that, okay, this is the Cincinnati Bengals team that we're waiting for. This is the team that can go to the Super Bowl. The defense just sucks. That's the problem.
Has Lamar ever had over 300 yards passing in a game?
Surely.
You think so?
Surely. But
What do you have today? 350?
here's where I'm going to push,
what,
guys.
I mean, that Dolphins game from like 3 years ago, where he threw like 8 touchdowns and 1 billion
Oh,
yards.
true. Yeah, you're right.
Jackie's a 2-time MVP.
Yeah, but he doesn't really throw the ball.
Yeah, he has games over 300 yards. He has games where he's throwing the ball.
Well, I just want to know how many. 'Cause I saw he had 350 today. I'm like, wow.
We've come to this point.
Today was his 9th. Today was his 9th game.
That's
over
actually not as many as I would have,
300
or that's less than I would have expected.
That's more than I would have expected.
So we've come to this question now every single season. I feel that we've done this show where we're 5 weeks in, the Bengals have an atrocious record, and we all say they're doomed, season's over, and then they come on at the end of the year, go on a playoff run, and we all look like idiots. And we promised we wouldn't do it this year, but here they are 1-4. So I'm going to ask you guys: are the Bengals doomed?
Yeah, they're doomed.
Here we go.
Well,
Every year, same shit.
I heard a stat that I was watching the game, and in the last however many years, I forget the exact amount. Is it 20 years, maybe 30 years? Teams who start 1-4 make the playoffs like 4% of the time.
That's not good.
So, yeah, I think the last few years when they've been shaky and they've bounced back and made the playoffs, I don't think can be a repetitive thing. Like you can't bank on okay, let's get hot, let's get going 6 weeks, 7 weeks in. You can only start 1-4 so many times before you're screwed.
I get it. What about you, Mr. Cincinnati? What do you think?
Unfortunately, I'm not going to say they're doomed, but they had about a coin flip chance of making the playoffs coming into this, and this really hurts. It's twice now, right? Between this game and the Chiefs game, you add in the close game against the Patriots and the Commanders. Like, it's so many times that the Bengals, particularly the offense, has played well enough to win a huge game. But that doesn't matter with respect to making the playoffs if you're not ultimately going to win. And look, this was their easy game against the Ravens, right? They've got to go to Baltimore in November. They still have to play the Eagles at home. They still have to go to Dallas. They still have to play the Steelers twice. Are they really going to shut out the Steelers? Right? It's an AFC North game. Sweeping is hard. So looking ahead, I mean, the Bengals realistically, there's what? So they're 1-4. So there's 12 games left in the season. Realistically, they need to go 8-4 or 9-3 in that. And that's in the NFL. That is really, really hard to do.
I'm just looking at their
they've
schedule.
still got a chance. It's not doomed, but it's not looking good.
I mean,
Their schedule right now is tough.
The game was over. They had a 10-point lead late in the fourth.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And if they hold on to that, our Bengals narrative now is that they're one of the best teams in football.
Oh, 100%.
It's funny how that
I still
works.
think they're one of the 6 or 7 strongest teams, but
honestly, they
that
probably
doesn't mean
are.
you make the playoffs.
Yeah, no, honestly, they probably are.
Yeah, their offense is, but their defense is getting blown up every
Yeah,
week right
it's
now.
defense
And
is garbage.
that was the worry coming into the season, and it's been completely exploited. It's brutal at this point. I mean, how many points did they allow? 30,
41.
24 to the Panthers, who were horrible today. 38 to the Commanders. But yeah, you're right. When they were up 38-28, I was sitting
That
back
was it.
thinking, okay, yeah, like they're about to beat the Ravens. They should have beat the Chiefs. This team could easily be 3-2. And we're talking about them probably fairly at like number 5 or 6 in the power. Maybe not, because the defense is just that bad.
I mean, I was disappointed too because Pittsburgh's going to crush Dallas tonight, and if the Ravens had lost, that's a 2-game lead for us.
It's got to feel good if you're a Raven fan today. You should have lost this one. You find a way to win a division opponent, a team that you do not like at all.
On the road.
Maybe your biggest competition for the division. Maybe. Depends who you ask.
I'm not sure I'd say they should have lost this one. I think the Bengals, their offense relied on 2 gigantic passes to Jamar Chase, like 2 gigantic touchdown passes. Baltimore's not giving up 2 touchdown passes of 40 or more yards most weeks.
Fair enough. But when you get Burrow that hot in the game,
and they also, Cincy, with how great their offense was, they had the ball in overtime and the 40-yard line, couldn't move a yard.
Nope, they couldn't. That was a great stand by Baltimore.
Lamar's now 9-1 against the Bengals.
This was one of those games. Lamar, at this point in time, he's starting to do it all the time, but Lamar can just take over a game. And that stiff arm touchdown pass that he had, I really think 2 guys in the league who can do that. I think it's Lamar and Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes, amazing, the best player in the league, but I'm not sure he's stiff arming a defensive end. He probably can. He's amazing. But Lamar Jackson just has these moments where he can completely take over a game, unlike really anybody in the league. And he's been spectacular the past few weeks. What? Now they've beaten Dallas, Cincinnati, and Buffalo the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Those are three teams that everyone had as Super Bowl contenders coming into the year.
Maybe we'll see a new number 1 in the power rankings.
I would still put the Vikings, I think, but
I'd probably put
Vikings and Chiefs still. But
Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, 1, 2, 3.
If you put Baltimore 1, I wouldn't argue that they're not playing the best football. They're playing great football at this point. And Derrick Henry is just he was kind of bottled up all day, and then when you need him most, 50-yard run like that. That offense, as the year goes on, I'm excited to watch Baltimore. And Ravens fans were mad at us at the beginning of the year, but you deserve to get made fun of when you lose to the Raiders. So Ravens win 41-38. I think we all agree right now the biggest threat to Kansas City, once again, are the Baltimore Ravens, correct?
Not so fast.
What, Steelers?
The team they're
Don't do this, Jack.
Don't do this.
Don't do this to me, Jack.
Watch this beating we're giving Dallas tonight, by the way.
All right.
Yes, probably Baltimore.
All right, let's move on here to probably the next 2
Ziggy catch.
biggest contenders. That'd be crazy. The next 2 biggest contenders in the AFC, the Texans and the Bills. The Bills fall 23-20 to C.J. Stroud. Fairbairn, a 59-yarder to win it? That's kind of crazy. Oh, yeah, I was completely with you, Jack, at the end of that game. Run out the clock.
I don't know what
Buffalo.
they were doing.
Run out the clock.
They didn't know the score.
You're buried in your zone, 3 timeouts.
I think they might have actually thought they were losing. I'm serious. Why? There's 16 seconds left.
For anyone,
Houston has 2 timeouts and Buffalo's throwing the ball.
3. For anyone who's not really aware what was going on here, it's late in the game. Buffalo had the ball on their 5-yard line, 6-yard line, something like that.
You 20 seconds.
Was it 40 maybe?
They
40
just
seconds?
had 40 seconds. You're at the 3.
Okay,
40 seconds at the 3, and they just had 3 straight incompletions, and that gave the opportunity for Houston to get the ball back with 7 seconds, and they had a completed pass and kicked the game-winning field goal because they were able to call a timeout there. If you run the ball 3 times, make them use their timeouts, Houston's not going to be able to kick it. They're kicking a 62, 63-yarder instead.
They took
65-yarder.
They took only 9 seconds off with 3 incompletions.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Well, they took 20 seconds off.
Yeah, no, I didn't really understand what
20?
the thought process was. I guess it had to be, hey, maybe we get a first down here and we can try and win the game ourselves, or just run out the clock and go to overtime if we get 1 first down. But I would have put the pressure on Fairbairn. 59 yards is a crazy field goal, but you're not kicking a 66-yarder.
But
probably not hitting that.
I understand if you start the drive at your own 30 or your own 25, not backed up in your own end zone.
I thought they might even have a safety.
Yeah, that was at risk, of course.
A holding penalty, it's a safety. Ziggy, you didn't seem to mind it, though.
I don't mind throwing once there. You try and catch them off guard. Maybe you get a really big play, whatever. Once that doesn't work, I think you've got to it didn't work. You move on. I definitely mind throwing 3 times. Look, in that situation, I get that it's not very exciting. But if you've only got, if you're going to overtime, you say, look, we got a 50% chance of winning. We're playing about as well as they are. And importantly, right, it's not like the Bills' offense have been lighting the world on fire before this. It's not like you have good reason to believe that if you just complete 1 pass, that's going to work. Look, Josh Allen on this game was 9 for 30.
Yeah, that was
He
crazy.
completed less than a third of his passes. The chances that you're going to get together a giant drive off of Josh Allen completing a bunch of passes is just unlikely. So go for it once. Yeah, fine, whatever. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe they're sleeping because they sell out on the run trying to get a safety. But once that doesn't work, take a couple knees, punt the ball, and move on with your life.
And if you told me Josh Allen was 9 for 30, I would have said Houston probably blows them out.
They were for
they were. Right.
Of this game.
They were. Yeah, they were.
The Bills, though, I'm actually starting to have some real concerns with Buffalo because at 3-2, we were all talking about them as I think most people had them number 1 in their power rankings through 3 weeks, beating the Cardinals, Dolphins, Jaguars. Well, Dolphins aren't, they beat up the Dolphins, but they look horrible at this point. The Jaguars are struggling, and especially when they played Buffalo. And then they played, the 2 contenders, and Houston really had their foot on their necks for most of this game. Buffalo did come back. I mean, they made it a game, but it's starting to feel more like Buffalo's one of those teams. Starting to feel like Buffalo's one of those teams that gets it going for a while, and when they do, they're very, very good. But you could really, do some damage to them when they're off.
We were talking last week how I thought when they were in Baltimore, the lack of I guess star power kind of showed.
There's just nothing in the receiving game.
Yeah, and when you have Josh Allen, you'll be in most games. But Josh Allen, while he may seem like a superhuman, he's a human, just like me and you.
No one had more than 2 catches.
Yeah, but
they didn't have elite NFL wide receiver Khalil Shakir.
When Josh Allen struggles too, and there's no star power,
it's still impressive that they lost to Houston.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you lost by 3 points, but at that point, you must have thrown the white flag.
Somebody tell me, the Bills had positive offensive efficiency. They weren't negative. I don't understand how that is possible when you are completing less than a third of your passes and don't have that good a run game. But, it's easy to focus on the Bills and everything they did wrong. I think not enough attention is likely to be paid to the Texans and what they did right. Even though, the Bills didn't have their best game, they're a tough opponent, even if they're coming into your building. And CJ Stroud and the Texans offense, particularly the passing game, stepped up and were able to get it done today.
No, I thought
without Nico Collins for most of it.
Completely agree with you. Throughout most of this game while I was watching, I was thinking this is the version of the Texans that everyone's been waiting for, where they just look unstoppable. And Nico Collins, he did get hurt, and I think he stayed in. This game might play out a little differently. He's been that good this season. But this was the version of Houston where you had Stephon Diggs contributing. Nico Collins, he's the best receiver on the team by far right now. Tank Dell got a little bit involved, which was nice to see. Joe Mixon wasn't even playing. That's another huge weapon, a huge weapon on Jack's fantasy team as well. But I was watching this thinking, okay, to me, Houston has more upward potential as the year goes on than Buffalo, who kind of seems that maybe we've seen what the Buffalo ceiling looks like this year.
This is also a big game for Houston. They've been a little bit shaky. I haven't been sold on them to start the year, and I'm sure other people haven't as well. Now you host the Bills, kind of their first maybe real test against a team who people think can go to the Super Bowl. And to win this game, really be in control for the most part, too, and defend your home field.
Until the end. It was close at the end.
Buffalo had the chance to take the lead. It was 14-0 to start the game? Like, they came out and they were... And
it was 14-3.
But to win a game, defend your home field against the Bills, that's a big win for them.
Is that harsh, Ziggy, to say Buffalo maybe has hit their ceiling?
I think that is harsh.
It feels a little harsh.
They've played good games, but here's what you have to do if you're Buffalo. CJ Stroud had 2 huge throws in this game, right? Times where he's trying to lose in the game late in the fourth quarter. 8 minutes left. Throws an interception. It's 20-17. Bills don't score any points. 4 minutes left. 20-17. CJ Stroud fumbles the ball. You're not able to get a touchdown. Like, those 2 turnovers almost sunk the game for Houston. The Bills needed to take advantage of that. And frankly, I think the Texans should count themselves lucky that off of 2 critical turnovers, the Bills only scored 3 points.
Oh, absolutely. As you were watching it towards the end there, it did feel like Houston was starting to give it away. And this was a big game, too, because we're assuming these 2 teams will be division winners as we get into the divisional round, which both of these teams expect to get to at some point. This could be the one that determines where that game is being played. And if you're Houston, would you rather go play in snowy Buffalo outside? It's -2 degrees, or get at home in your building with all the speedy weapons they have and the passing attack? Huge win.
Snowy Buffalo and 2 degrees.
Yeah,
that's where real men play in January. Yeah, I'd rather play.
That's not where the Houston Texans want to play.
No, I'd rather
have to cancel the game.
I'd rather play there if I'm Houston.
Buffalo's tough. I mean, they're tough in that building, except if you're Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's the one dude that you don't want coming into your building.
I mean, they spanked us last year in the playoffs.
So 23-20, Houston wins there. It was nice for Texans fans to finally see that team look better because even though they were 3-1, I think there was a lot of noise around them for the past
I
the whole season.
I mean, even though like Buffalo also played bad and Houston barely beat them.
Yeah,
But it's a big win. It's to beat the Bills, beat Josh Allen. It's a good win.
Dude, the Commanders are just unbelievable. 34-13. The Browns, as great as the Commanders have been, these have to be two of the most surprising teams in the league in terms of Cleveland being 1-4. I mean, they are just horrible. Like I did not see this defensive nightmare of a season coming from them. And then on the other side, Jaden Daniels continues to just be unbelievable week in and week out. We're kind of waiting for him to have his rookie moment, and he's just, our friend was asking, is he the best quarterback in the NFC right now? And he's playing like it, certainly.
I mean, I think he looks like the best quarterback in the NFL right now the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to watch.
This was the easiest bet of the year, too, Washington -3 at home.
The more I'm watching Washington, the more I'm starting to believe myself. I'm thinking about the best teams in the NFC. Like guys, let's seriously think about who are your top 5 teams in the NFC right now?
Vikings, Lions,
Commanders, Packers.
Yeah, Packers. I don't know if I'd put Philly up there.
And Tampa. I mean, that's your 5. Or Atlanta?
Probably Tampa.
Even though Atlanta just beat them?
Yeah, I think Tampa's probably better than Atlanta.
If the 49ers aren't in your top 5 NFC teams, I think you're crazy.
At what point can you leave them out? They keep losing.
I mean, they're 2-3. It's not great.
Who's your top 5?
The home loss to the Cardinals. That's
well, they lost this game because their kicker got hurt and they had nobody who could kick a field goal. Literally.
Who's your top 5?
Whose fault is that?
Not in any particular order. I've probably got Vikings, Lions, Packers, 49ers. Then I don't know, someone else. I don't feel strongly about any of the other teams.
So you're not ready to put you're not ready to really buy into the Commanders yet. You're still.
I don't think they're crazy. I don't think it's crazy to put them up there. The Commanders have looked good, but I will say it's easy to look good when you're playing against Deshaun Watson.
Come on, they play your Bengals. They went in and beat pretty handily.
No, I'm not sure I'd say they beat them pretty handily. The Commanders have looked very good. But I am always hesitant when you've got a quarterback with a small sample size to say they're going to continue to keep it up. I mean, they'll get a chance to prove me wrong, right? They go to Baltimore next week. That's a big game.
No, if
they can do it there, we'll see.
That'll be fun.
I mean, that could be the game where Daniels just gets murdered.
It could be, but if they beat Baltimore, then it's all
if they
systems
beat Baltimore,
go.
they're my Super Bowl pick.
Jaden Daniels, he's the most fun player in the league right now, outside of maybe Lamar to watch. It's just unbelievable watching him week in and week out. I can't believe they play Baltimore. I didn't realize
That's
that.
a fun game, too. They're about an hour away from each other. Mm-hmm. Baltimore, D.C.
All right, we'll circle that one. There's not too much more I can say on Jaden Daniels that we haven't said. That's the thing. Like, it's just, okay, they won by 20.
He's played very well.
Yeah, he looks awesome.
They're crushing people. They won, 20 this week, 30 last week. Great win on the road in Cincy the week before. Like, it's we said it multiple times. This is the best time in a decade to be a Commanders fan, so just enjoy every moment of it. You're 4-1, and next week you have your real challenge. But outside of Baltimore, Carolina, Chicago, the Giants. I mean, this team is probably gonna be sitting at 7-2,
and they look better than Philly and Dallas do right now.
They do. They're gonna be 7-2 going into their games with Pittsburgh, Philly, and Dallas, and that's where you're gonna see that. Those 3 games will determine what the Washington Commanders are this year, and if they're able to win 2 of those. It's a lot of ifs and buts with Washington.
Well, but as long as the Commanders continue to have one of the 2 or 3 best rushing games in the NFL, I'll expect them to continue to do good.
Are they the NFC's Baltimore Ravens?
I mean, look, here's what we've seen. We've seen an elite rushing game combined with a quarterback that can make big plays when you have to. Again, right? He hasn't shown nearly as much as Lamar Jackson because he hasn't been in the league as long. But it's against a Browns defense that this year, I know people are complaining, but it's been pretty good. They had a strong rushing game. And if it weren't for that fumble from Terry McLaurin, it would have been probably the best rushing game of the week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see. Next week, we'll get a real test of where Washington's at. I think the Bengals game was actually their first one.
If you put Jaden Daniels right now on Notre Dame, you think they win the championship?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel pretty confident in that.
You think they do?
Yeah. I mean, he's 1 year removed, but he was a Heisman winner. Do you think they win?
Probably not.
No.
You just said you think he's the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I just think Notre Dame stinks. So I'd probably take Ohio State.
Taking it back to the NFL really quick, I think there's a question. I know it is awkward, but at what point, if you're the Browns, do you have to think about benching Deshaun Watson? They have consistently had, when you put him out there, the worst passing game in the NFL.
I mean, probably now.
Yeah, he's done.
I think it is time that for the Browns to really seriously consider, and you've seen it. You plug a different quarterback in this offense, it can be okay. I think it might actually be time to just take the L and sit Deshaun Watson on the bench.
I mean, yeah, you have to look at this guy and you say he has an unbelievable number of sexual harassment cases built up on being the worst quarterback in the National Football League. At some point, you have to look at the resume and say it's over.
I mean, he
right?
also
what else does he need to do?
He wasn't even that good on the Texans either.
No, he was amazing. He was a top 5 quarterback.
He had some great years on the
Texans.
No,
he just had D-Hop.
No, he was unbelievable.
He was fine. He was very good once D-Hop was gone. He got better.
He would just launch into that guy and he'd come down and make a play. Anyway, no, I think he's done.
I mean, it feels crazy saying this, but how many more weeks of bottom of the NFL passing performance? Maybe the contract just means you can't. But the Browns would have a better chance of winning if they just paid Deshaun Watson to sit on the bench.
We've seen it now for his entire time in Cleveland. It's been horrible.
I mean, Ziggy, you and I have been off of him since he was in Cleveland day one.
No, Ziggy, there's a video out there with Ziggy on the thumbnail saying they're going 13th.
Oh, Ziggy was high?
Ziggy was high on him? Ziggy was high.
I mean, we've never seen a player fall off like this in NFL history. It's never happened before. But he's not going to get better. We've seen enough at this point. I think the Browns need to seriously consider bringing in another quarterback, which sounds unbelievable. But, I mean, honestly, they had 100 passing yards. They were 1 for 13 on third down. Deshaun Watson took 7 sacks. And it wasn't their worst performance of the season.
Yeah, it was ugly, too.
Jack, you want to shout out Caleb Williams real quick?
I mean, he played well. I think the Panthers are worse than Ohio State and Texas, but still, I think he played a good game.
No, we were
texting
in the chat during the Bears game, and Jack's going, you know what? Gotta give him his flowers. Playing a good game today.
He played a good game.
There's
nothing. Jack might be crazy, but it's not irrational.
Yeah, I'm not
irrational.
I'm not going to come in here and try to make us a nonsense about how he played well.
This also, I'm looking Giants-Seahawks. Giants won 29-20. This is what I mean when Seattle people get mad that I was saying this is who they are.
This could not talk about this.
No, but I'm just saying with the Seahawks, they can have their moments. It's exactly the same team that they've always been. It really is unbelievable how consistently mediocre they are. In that, they're 3-0. Everyone's on top of the world. They're getting mad at us for saying that they're going to fall back down to earth. Defense doesn't show up in Detroit. You lose to the Giants. Here you are, 3-2. No one views them as a playoff threat. It's the same thing every season. They'll give you some tough games. They're never going to be an easy out, but they're never really a threat. That's it. That's it with Seattle.
You know what my money line parlay was today? Seahawks-Niners. I thought that was automatic.
I mean,
right?
you would have thought.
Wouldn't you imagine that's automatic?
You would have thought. Ziggy, I feel like you're a little... We got to be fair and judge the 49ers, right?
I mean, the 49ers, it's been tough. But if you're looking at these NFC West standings, I have to say, I apologize to you. There's one Seahawks fan in particular, Divine Comedy 7311, who has been in here bragging on me to support the Seahawks for weeks. And I finally do. I finally put him in the power rankings, and immediately they lose to the Giants. So I feel like that might be on me. So I apologize to you. The second I stopped doubting this team, they immediately show why I was so hesitant. The 49ers game, I will admit, it wasn't great. The offensive efficiency wasn't quite there. Brock Purdy had his worst game of the season. Again, I think it is tough to ignore that the injury to Jake Moody meant that they couldn't kick a field goal longer than 25 yards.
That is a big
when they went for it on 4th and 20 something, when they had an easy field goal, that is when you lose the game by 1 point to a late 4th quarter comeback. Then I actually feel justified pointing at the injury and saying that's why. Now, obviously, they should have scored at least 1 point in the second half. If they do that, they win the game. So I'm not totally excusing them here. But it's hard not to look at the history of this team and the fact that, while I know they lost to the Vikings in a close game. They lost to the Rams in a tough one, but they've others looked pretty good. And count out this team as one of the better teams in the NFC. I mean, they've got a tough schedule. They still have a first place schedule. Things could still go wrong. But realistically, who's making it out of this division? I'm taking them over the Seahawks, Cardinals, and Rams.
No, I think I'm
which
with you
means they're
still.
probably making the playoffs. And then you've got playoff DNA with great players.
And they also had a 23-10 lead at home.
Yeah,
I mean,
they should be. They also should have beat the Rams. Like they should be 4-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the difference between even 2-3 and 1-4, right? Is the Bengals, you look at that record and say, yeah, you've played good football, but you're in a tough division. You're 1-4. Versus the 49ers are in a much easier division with a slightly better record in a division or in a conference where there's a lot of teams that 2-3, 3-2 mark. And they get to play a whole lot of them. So I'm not quitting on the 49ers yet.
You see where this is going, right?
I mean, a team like the Niners, I'm so much more like they're better off than a team like the Bengals, 100%.
No, but you see where this is going, right, guys?
Where to my Broncos?
No. You see where this is going with the 49ers. Like it's written.
McCaffrey
so
gets
obvious.
healthy for the playoffs?
Yeah, and then who are they going to play in the playoffs? When they sneak in when they get in the wild card? Who are they going to play in the divisional round?
Not the Vikings. The Vikings have a first round bye.
In the divisional round. We're going to get the 49ers somehow. It's going to be the weird thing where they're going to be the 4 seed. It's going to be Tampa Bay playing against like the Commanders in the second round. We're going to have a red hot 49ers team.
With McCaffrey back. And we're going to lose. They're going to beat the Washington or something, go to the Super Tampa Bay and go to the Super Bowl. How about my Broncos?
Yeah.
You see that? That's the best defense in football.
No, I have not watched that game, man. I'm not going to lie. I had my eyes completely on
I
the
watched
Packers.
that game.
They
You
were,
did?
I think, they're the best defense in the league.
I mean, what happened was you got Gardner Minshew benched for Aiden O'Connell. I mean, again, the defense was solid this game, but I don't think that was the headline. I think the headline was Bo Nix puts together a solid performance. And it finally,
of course
you can see as if you watch the game, there was a lot of talk between him and Sean Payton on the sideline. It finally feels like that connection is starting to work out. And they're on the same page. And you saw the results. The run game, again, was horrendous. But Bo Nix was able to produce enough in the air and with a weird reach over touchdown that they were able to get it done.
I have no faith in the Broncos. I think the Raiders are horrible. The Panthers beat the Raiders by 30 points.
Do you realize Bo Nix is the next Drew Brees? Do you understand that?
I mean, that's very unlikely.
Bo Nix is...
This is the horse that Jack has attached himself to here.
This is what happens when... I mean, it's hard to believe in a team that still has to face the Chiefs twice, that has to face the Ravens, that has to face the Bengals.
No, they are an irrelevant story. Remember last year the
No,
Broncos...
they're not.
No,
What are they, 4-2 now?
They're 3-2.
3-2?
I guarantee
You
you...
can absolutely miss the playoffs.
guarantee you...
But they're not irrelevant. They're 3-2 with 2 good wins. Actually, 3 good wins. They murdered the Raiders today.
Yeah, I guess it's a good win. I mean, it's a nice looking win.
Nix looks good.
The Tampa Bay win was nice.
He's the next Drew Brees.
I have no confidence in Denver. I'm not a big Sean Payton guy either. Are you last thing I'm going to ask you guys before we wrap this up here? We have the full Packer reaction out right now on YouTube to the
Great numbers, record numbers.
Yeah, very good numbers for us right now.
We have the best Packers videos. We have the best reactions. Everybody talks about how great our Packers reactions are.
It's because and you know why? It's because we're miserable during them. Ziggy and I are just here, 2 heartbroken Vikings fans talking about Green Bay's success. We were saying how close we were today, Jack, to getting a Packer loss and the Vikings going 3.5 games. Can you imagine the Vikings 3.5 games up on the Packers in the division through 5 weeks? That would have been awesome.
And the Packers weren't going to lose today.
No, it never felt like they were going to. Actually, in the second quarter, for a moment it did, but they took control of that game in the third quarter. And I do believe once Dobbs gets back, which that situation is just absurd. It really is absurd. And if that cost them today, like we're looking back on the season late in the year, like how important one win becomes. That would have been unfortunate for the Packers. But when they get Watson back, Dobbs back, they're going to be really good. So what I wanted to ask you real quick is right now, if you had to put your money on who's going to go further in the NFC, what do you say the Packers or the 49ers? Because we're talking about the 49ers and, they're in a weird spot. Ziggy kind of believes in them. We're saying, hey, maybe this is a problem. Who would you attach yourself to? One has to go further.
I'd still probably go with San Fran. Just because I believe that San Fran will end up being a better seed. Mm-hmm. I think Green Bay will be on the road because Detroit wins the division.
So you're still going Detroit to win the North?
Yeah. So probably San Fran.
Yeah, I think San Francisco has more talent, and they've done it longer, and they've got the easier path to winning the division. And playing home games in the playoffs is so important. It just is. If the Packers get hot right? They absolutely could go farther, but I'm sticking with the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers, we still don't know. If you listen to Matt LaFleur, he's saying he's hopeful that Romeo Doubs is going to come back. Like we have no clue what's going on in that building, but the bad vibes are starting to come in. If they had lost this game, the season would have been over. We could have started celebrating. But even though I think they'll have a decent season, you have to pick the 49ers.
I think that's fair. And who are you on to win the NFC North right now, Ziggy? Is it the Vikings? Try and be honest here.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate that we're recording this before I know the Lions are on bye. I'd really like to see one more game from them before you ask me this question.
Yeah.
It's hard not to pick the Vikings. I mean, it's here. We will know. I think I feel terrible saying this. In 2 weeks, when the Vikings play the Lions, we'll finally have a little bit of clarity. It's tough to pick a division winner in a division where only one game has been played between teams.
Yep.
But one team's 5-0. The Bears are the Bears. The Packers were 2.5 games ahead of, which is a huge lead a third of the way through the season. Of course, we can blow it, but that still feels pretty nice. I feel like it's a toss-up between the Vikings and the Lions. So I'm going to go with the team that has at least a 1-game lead and pick the Vikings.
I think the Vikings have definitely the best defense of the three of them. The offenses kind of take their turns. I actually think Detroit probably is the best offense between those three teams as well. And then Green Bay is kind of very good at both. I kind of lean Detroit, even though I'm very optimistic about the Vikings. I think they're very, very good. The spot that'll hurt Detroit is the defense. And if that secondary keeps getting exposed the way they have, Green Bay can take advantage of that. The Vikings can take advantage of that. I think I'm still in that Detroit camp, but that's what we're going to see. Detroit goes to Dallas, and they go to Minnesota. If they lose those two games, opens wide. I mean, it's right there for the Vikings. You could have a 2-game lead on the 1 seed.
Yeah.
So
week 7 is the first week you can flex things in the prime time, right? Or is it week 6?
I'm sorry, say that again.
When does the NFL? It's week 6 when they get to start flexing things in the prime time, right?
If that's next week, then
yeah,
I thought it was much later in the year.
No, so you get unlimited flexing starting week 11 or week 12, but you get 2 flexes into Sunday Night Football weeks, I think 6 through 10. I think the Vikings-Lions game is going to get flexed into prime time, and I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun.
It might go to 4:30. I don't know if Fox should give that game up.
No, the NFL from weeks 6 to 10, or is it 5 to 10? I can't remember. They get to pick 2 games and make a Sunday Night Football.
Oh, and what? And the companies can't say anything about it.
Yeah, that's what the contract is.
I think interesting.
I think Vikings-Lions week 6
that's worthy
or week 7, excuse me. That's definitely a primetime worthy game. I bet that's going to be. It's 1:00 right now. I can almost guarantee you that's going to be Sunday night in Minnesota. Everyone losing their minds. And are you telling me the Vikings are going to lose a primetime game at home to the Detroit Lions?
That's the week 7 game here. What's currently in that slot?
That's when a Vikings loss happens.
That's Jets Steelers. Oh, you would rather have Vikings Lions than Jets Steelers.
Yeah, the current Sunday night game. Yeah, it's Jets Steelers.
There's no way the 5-1 Steelers are getting flexed out of primetime. Sorry.
Texans Packers is another good one, but that's about it.
You'll keep your 1:00 slate.
Yeah. Chiefs 49ers could get flexed.
Chiefs 49ers is that week?
Yeah, it's a 4:25 game. But I'm telling you, Vikings Lions that week is going to. This is what we're doing. People are just going to tune in and listen to us talk about the NFL schedule.
Hey, it's fun. It's fun to look ahead of these things. So, all right, we'll wrap it up there. Week 5 reaction. A lot of big games. A lot of shocking upsets this week across college football, the NFL. Notre Dame.
Hey, anchor down, baby. Anchor down.
All right, yeah, that should have been the cap. That would have been amazing.
Another cap winner.
Yeah, three in a row.
I'm not a lunatic.
Oh, that would have been.
I mean, we're starting to get. This worries me. We're starting to get people in the comments saying that you're making money for them. It worries me that people are taking your gambling advice,
and it's working.
And yet somehow it works.
I don't lose.
Jackson.
Aren't you 3-2 on the season?
4-2. I've been 9-4 the last 2 years.
That's not bad, actually.
Let's wrap this up here. Sunday Night Football is about to start. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you for more reaction content later this week.